Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Football Uncensored podcast with Rob Kirton and John Sitton. Relatively quick turnaround, as promised, from our international interlude. We're going to go back to the bread and butter of the Premier League. A little bit of last night, if we get the chance, but we're going to start, I think, with the weekend games, and may or may not surprise regulars to hear that we're going to start with Chelsea. Who, of course, played Burnley at the weekend and drew 2-2. John, I know you got a few thoughts on that one and a few others, but we're going to
Yeah,
start with your beloved Chelsea.
yeah, yeah. Good to
Not
see
a
you
great
again.
result.
No, it wasn't, mate. Yeah, good to see you again after the thing. I thought we made some good relevant points on the two England internationals. Um, Least of all, it probably highlights the fact we were false favourites. But yeah, going. I watched the two lots of highlights over the weekend, and you're right. It weren't just the team around the bottom; it was the team around the bottom with 10 men. What struck me is it's sort of ongoing, because I did say it at the time and I said it way back when. So sorry to be yet again like a bit of a self-satisfied and smug. But I did say that I thought the head on show, he's had his pants pulled down. They let too many homegrown players go. The ones that have come in, homegrown players that have come in, are possibly not as good, or potentially as good as the ones they let go. I feel that he never got value for money in the market. What strikes me is there seems to be no. I'm looking at it, and it reminds me, and I did say it to somebody on Twitter, and my thing's at the real sits. We've got quite a few followers now. Always try and interact with people and football supporters of any club. What struck me is the fact that it reminded me a lot of my time now, when I broke into the first team as a kid. And even though I quitted myself okay, not magnificently, probably adequately, there seems to be no feeling. There seems to be no feeling like there has been in the past, like the great trophy winning sides that preceded my period at the club, late 60s, early 70s. And then latter day under Roman Abramovich and his string of managers, which I thought was pretty good. You can have what you want. Here's your time. And then rather than rotate loads of players, what he'd done is he rotated the managers so the message stayed fresh. The point being, there seems to be at the moment no identity for me. Someone said on Twitter that the team's lacking leaders in every department, and I fully concur, because I said that I've been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt. That's exactly was the same sort of thing when I got into the side as a 19-year-old. 19-year-old centre back. There were no leaders. There was no one taking charge. There was no one bossing people. And then you're looking around, you think, whoa! I've come into a team in the relegation zone, and they're looking at me to tell them what to do. And I just thought, I needed to be in a situation where I could concentrate on my own game. Now, you would think with the fast forward to now, with the hundreds of millions that are spent, I think someone said there's conservative estimates at 800 million, 650 to 800 million, and others saying he spent over a billion. Without being au
Either way,
fait
it's
with
pretty high.
the. Say again. Say
But then
again, mate.
either way, it's pretty high, isn't
Silly
it?
money, isn't it? Silly money. It's silly money. And when you look at the quality he's bought, and when you look at the amount of chances they miss, even if the approach play is good, right? The amount of chances, the gilt-edged chances they've missed to literally bury teams and put the game out of sight, I find it incredible, absolutely incredible. Some of them now, some of them I look at it and I think, well, I could finish that now. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking, in synopsis, I think there seems to be He keeps going on about the project. I think he's done, let me tell you something, I think he's done really well, Pochettino, in the respect that he knows how to play the game, right? He's an experienced manager in that respect. He's not going to rock the boat. And if he's going to go, it's a case of, right, well, okay, you've got to sack me and I'll take the multi-million-pound settlement. He's not going to call it as it is. He's going to play politics. I've always been a believer in whether it's the cab trade, whether it's football, and which is where I come unstuck. Don't play politics with a politician because they're well versed in it. And you're just basically, you're just coming into, you're just like, it's like walking into a sea. You're just getting up to your knees and you think you're getting a feel of it. And then all of a sudden you take the plunge and it shocks the life out of you, right? Because the water's freezing cold, right? So I've always been a great believer and I've tried to learn from my mistakes. I'll just say what I feel, but at the same time, don't play politics with a politician because they're experts at it and you're not. Where he's concerned, Pochettino, I think he's playing very clever politics because he's not calling it out for what it is. He keeps going like he's trying to keep the togetherness. He's trying to keep he's done marvellously well at keeping a cool head. When in effect, I think the club's got literally no identity, wasted loads of money, no, not just no identity in terms of what was there before. I mean, also playing identity. There seems to be a lot of money wasted, and there seems to be a big problem, I think, with regards to going forward, because now we're going into different areas. If you want to unload players and get new players in, you've got all these players because of financial fair play and other reasons, I'm sure, without going into specifics and talking myself into trouble, long-term contracts to spread the cost, right? So you're going to have silly money, literally silly money for not very good players who you won't be able to get off the wage bill, which I inherited much lower down. People on silly money who you find difficult to move on, enabling you to get the players in that you want to get in. So I think there's all these ingredients on top of what one of the guys said, one of my mutual followers said, it was a staunch Chelsea man, goes to every home game, no leaders, no recognisable patterns, no recognisable strategy, and they just seem to muddle through. Against the 10-man Burnley, so it doesn't bode very well. Although it bodes well for our predictions at the start of the season, which I said I'll be surprised if they get inside the top 8. Pleasantly surprised if they get in the top 8. What are they now at the moment? 10th, 11th, 10th?
Oh. Yeah, about that. Looks about halfway without counting.
So it bodes well for our prediction, but it don't bode well for the immediate future of the club. No,
I mean, you say about the leaders or lack of, obviously. I don't know whether it's coincidence or not, or whether he's injured. I'm not too sure. Someone I'm sure will be able to correct us. Thiago Silva, the veteran centre half. I don't think I've seen him in the team since his missus had a thinly veiled pop. I can't remember if it was Pochettino or the owners.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him in the side. Well, he could be injured. I'm not sure, but
she was probably having a pop at both. I mean, the bottom line is he's coming at the end of his career anyway. So I don't think it'd have made that much difference. If anything, like you'd probably try and expose him. You'd probably see him, despite his experience, you'd probably try and make the areas around him big, and then expose him with regards to like little balls threaded down the side to turn him, because then he's found wanting. I mean, he's at his best when he can boss other people in front of him, which is something I grew into. So let me just explain something. When you break into the side as a kid, very few people get hold of it by the scruff of the neck. Very, very few people. Probably the likes of I'm talking in terms of Chelsea now. Even though I was brought up as an Arsenal supporter, actually Charlie George would be an example. Who I had a lunch with a while back. He could get hold of a game by the scruff of the neck as a kid. Then at Chelsea, you're looking the likes of Lord Hudson and maybe Ozzy, right? you're just looking to take care of your own game. So you need someone like him. So then what happens is you grow into the role, you start to mature as a player for experience, and then you can start making the game easier for yourself by bossing the people around you. And that's what I think he's good at, Silver. You know what I mean? I didn't really come into that until probably Gillingham, because even at Millwall, like my thing there was very short-lived. All right. So what I see is I see a lot of players who need to be able to take care of their own game without bringing in that cohesion, that cohesive effect of bossing the people around you and meshing it. You understand what I mean? And then I look at the quality of the goals. I look at the goals conceded, and you're talking like, soft. Soft. I think soft. And I can't honestly, for the life of me, I can't say how it's going to get any better. You know what I mean? It's you look at it, and I think they're struggling in all departments. I honestly do.
I can only offer two words of encouragement at the moment, and these two words can't do it all as much as they're trying, and that's Cole Palmer, who is undoubtedly a positive for Chelsea this season. But he's where would they be without him, John? For example, this season he's carried them practically.
Yeah, I mean,
He's,
what it is,
he's what,
yeah,
20?
I agree. Yeah, and then you look at it, and he's left a massive club in City. He's come now. I think he's took the gamble rather than Chelsea. And having said that, he's carried on taking the gamble because the stuff that he does and the way he does it, he's got that sort of. It reminds me of Mickey Fillery, who was there when I was there. And we came through the youth team together, South East Counties football combination, and played in the first team together. Mickey was left-footed as well, and he's got that sort of languid, really casual-looking style. If it comes off, looks fantastic. You look as cool as a cucumber, like he did with a penalty. If it don't come off, you look an idiot. You look like, and then you'll have the crowd screaming at you at the bridge. You will have the crowd screaming at you. They won't see what you've tried to do. They'll just see what went wrong.
That took some minerals, really, I suppose, to take minerals or stupidity or whatever you want to call it.
Well, the Panenka, yeah, what they call
a Panenka,
yeah.
Anyway, and under those circumstances that he's playing under as well.
If you take him out of the equation with the amount of assists he's got and some of the goals he's scored, you're probably looking at Chelsea hovering just above the relegation zone. You know what I mean? Which is absolutely nothing short of incredulous. I mean, 800 million plus. It's really diabolical. It really is diabolical. I think the club needs sorting out from top to bottom. I honestly do. And I think the same could be applied there. Someone showed me a thing by DM. The goings on at another club. And the guy who was appointed director of football. And the conversation was going around the table. And so, out of interest, who do you actually support? And you've got a guy appointed director of football. And he said, well, no one really. I don't really like football. I've never really liked football. And yet he's got a very well, highly paid job in a professional football club, right? And that, if push come to shove, he twisted my arm up my back, I'd say, well, that's what it looks like at Chelsea. You know what I mean? And whoever's been advising him on the purchases and whatever agents they've been working with, the agents have pulled their pants down and smacked their bum, as I've said numerous times on here and on Twitter. Right, and whoever he's been working with, just don't deal with him anymore and sack the people who's been working under him and advising him, because they're just not up to it. They don't know what they're looking at. That's what it reminds me of. Yeah, and I think without him, Cole Palmer, who we were talking of England last week, is probably nailed on to go. There's a wild card. You know what I mean? Sort of player you could throw on. He's like a more sort of languid version of Grealish. You know what I mean? But like the way he changes the line of the ball, Grealish, all the time. He does the same, Cole Palmer, but I think he can thread a pass, can't he? Like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, definitely. He's a great. He's a great player, and I think Chelsea would be well. in a lot of trouble. I was going to say something else then, but in a lot of trouble if he
Yeah.
wanted the side.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, on both counts,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and then I suppose that this week they put Chelsea play another club who's probably struggling with the same sort of thing, lack of identity on the pitch and to a degree off the pitch. I think they've got Man United tomorrow night. So there's two managers that are definitely under pressure, whether it's from their board or whether it's from the fans on social media or the fans in the ground. They always seem to be, although as you say, Pochettino is playing it well with his bosses, with his calmness at interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
Ten Hag. I'm talking about obviously at Man United. He seems to be little bit more prickly, doesn't he, in the interviews sometimes, and a
Yeah,
little bit more outspoken. But
and in the press and in the written press, he seems to be like, and it's almost like again, I see the signs. It's like, because I've got to the stage where it's almost a plea for the club to stick with you. You know what I mean? Which is like, dare I say it, with a benefit of massive benefit of hindsight, it looks like really sort of undignified and unprofessional. It's almost like a plea for them to stick with him, and it's not just once; it's been on numerous occasions. My prediction is at the end of the season he'll be gone if anyone decent's on the market. That's my prediction, and I think what it also shows with the succession of managers like Moyes, Van Gaal, this guy Mourinho won a trophy and got them to a respectable finish, none of which has been taken into account. Although I've got to admit, I'm a little bit biased when it comes to Jose. I think it shows what an unbelievable job Ferguson did when he was there, because they're talking about the training ground, they're talking about redeveloping the ground. All this would have been ongoing over a 20-year period under Ferguson, right? But he prioritised the most important side. And when you look at the documentary on him, when he starts doing the diagrams at the, I think the London School of Economics, I'm pretty sure it was, or the London Business School. Anyways, fascinating little mini doc, or just like a one-off program. And he kept the staff and the players self-contained. And
this is Ferguson you're talking about.
Ferguson and Ferguson, and not only that, his achievements, and not only the achievements, sustaining the achievement. The people since, apart from Jose, you're looking at no achievements. You understand? So it's like 3 or 4 things. He explained how he kept the staff and the management self-contained from everything else, although they are vital parts of the club. So he had like a little tentacle going down their directors, one going up their supporters, or no supporters, no club, because of the income, media, something else, and then self-contained unit, players and staff, right? I think it showed how focused he was on that. I think it highlights that he got what he wanted. He was very dogmatic about what he wanted in terms of bringing players through and purchasing and buying, selling players that he wanted to buy and sell. And then not only that, to achieve things, buying and selling players to top up the squad or rotate the squad to sustain the success, right? And I just think it puts everything into perspective. What an unbelievable achievement all that was, because he didn't just do it. He kept it going over years and years and years. After that initial, what was it, 3 to 4 year period where he never won in the first 3 to 4 years.
I think it's 4 seasons.
Then the guy that got him out of jail, he's doing marvellous at Coventry now as a manager.
Yeah, Mark Robbins.
Yeah, with the header. Yeah.
Yeah, little header.
Yeah. So you look at the things there, and I just think, like, when you go like latter day, I think it's all just like fizzling out. And again, it's another club that needs shaking up from top to bottom. It really does. Maybe the new guy, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, coming in and saying he wants to run the football side of things. Maybe that will be the catalyst for it.
Maybe we'll see. Sticking with the theme of clubs that you get quite a lot of interaction on Twitter, and even if maybe not necessarily yourself, but a lot of fans seem to be quite vocal about their managers and should they be there, should they not. They played at the weekend and arguably, in fact, maybe not arguably, produced the game of the week to watch, especially if you're a neutral, and that's Newcastle and West Ham. But
I knew he was going to say West Ham. Yeah.
But
yeah.
You know, Moyes and Eddie Howe always seem to be one bad result away from their fans baying to to get rid of them, and it's
Yeah.
just
Eddie Howe, I can't understand. Moyes, I can understand a little bit more because it's just purely and simply down to a clash of cultures. West Ham, I mean, Sam had the cute remark, didn't he? Allardyce, when he was there, they're saying they were going on about the West Ham way. He said, well, as far as I can tell, the West Ham way is to keep getting relegated, playing the West Ham ways. And so I'm paraphrasing, obviously, and the supporters were slaughtering him, and he's going there, going, oh, we're not playing the West Ham way, and what about the West Ham way? And this ain't the West Ham way. And he said, well, as far as I can tell, historically, the West Ham way is to keep playing and getting relegated. Then they'd come back up, then they'd go there. So you know what he meant. And, what he's saying is like, leave it to me because I know what it takes to stay in this division. Well, that's basically what Moyes has done. And then people are calling him a football dinosaur, etc. He won the Europa. The season before, they had a disappointing season. The season before that, they had a magnificent season, I think. It might have been the other way around where they got top 7. And what he's done, I think, in his defence, I think under a strict budget policy, transfer policy, and a strict budget, I meant to say, I still think he's doing well. But I think he could do better in terms of the advice he's getting or the help that he's getting. I would like to have seen them when they were 3-1. This is where I do agree with West Ham supporters about playing on the front foot. They got themselves 3-1 in front, right? That's when I think you got to adjust your game plan. It's like I've always said about having tactically flexible players, and that can only come from their education, which is something that I'm reading in a paper at the moment, and that I disagree with Gareth Southgate on, right? Because I don't think that their tactical canvas is broad enough, right, for them to achieve anything. Whereas he thinks that they've got a big very broad tactical canvas from the work in the academies, right? I'll disagree, but anyway, that's me being biased about my era. And it's ironic that people on these staff at the moment, they would have come through courses that I would have staffed, right? So that's how far I go back. And if I hadn't have walked out when I did because of the way I was treated, who knows? Maybe some of the people sitting second and third row behind them at Wembley, I would have taken them on courses, right? So I disagree with them on that. Where West Ham's concerned, right? And I think it does tie in. I don't think they're tactically flexible enough, and they play in like a compact block. And I did say in previous thing, and this is when he was injured, by the way, to just to justify it, Antonio. And I said you had a player on the left and a player on the right. The one on the left, his name escapes me, but Gerard Bowen we know about, and they had sort of a false 9 where they were hitting teams on the break. And I said I don't think you can hit a team on the break without Antonio. Because he'll hustle and bustle. I mean, he's as subtle as a club hammer, but he will get you up the field. What I would like to have seen is the same West Ham compact when they went 3-1 up, but I would just like to have seen them. And maybe it was the case last night. I don't know. I didn't see any of the games. I ain't got the subscription. I ain't got the thing. I only rely on the BBC match of the day or commentary on the radio, right? I would like to have seen them get 15 yards further up the field. And it was just against Newcastle. Maybe it happened last night because I think that was 2 points dropped by Spurs because player for player, like it or loathe it, like it or not, it's reality. I think Spurs player for player are a better side. So I would say that's 2 points dropped by Spurs. But they made it 1-1 last night. And it's nice to bounce back from the disappointment of Saturday. But Saturday, Newcastle went from the instead of the sublime to the ridiculous, they went from the ridiculous to the sublime because nothing was coming off. They weren't playing well. They weren't stringing any passes together. Their patterns were kept breaking down. Maybe that's credit to West Ham. But then second half they come out and West Ham could rarely get near them. A lot of one-touch, two-touch passing, 1 and 2 touch moves, little flicks around the corner. Little 1-2s, little give and goes. And I thought he, despite the sending off, we gave ourselves a pat on the back the other week for predicting months and months ago that he should be in the squad. And he's finally got his call up, Anthony Gordon. And on the crest of a wave, a little bit disappointing because it was a soft second yellow.
Very soft, silly one.
Yeah, that resulted silly one that resulted in the sending off. But yeah, I should imagine that, like from a West Ham perspective, you could see it. You know, you knew it was coming, and when the camera went on him, he just went off.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
that's
Moyes.
the
Yeah.
that's the impression I got from a lot of the West Ham fans. It was almost I get it as a Southampton fan at the moment. It's a similar sort of thing, and it's
When you're playing, Rob, when you're playing, let me tell you this. Let me explain something. When you're playing, you become a leader. You become mature. You become experienced, right? Like I think by the time I got to my third club, I had, right? Then if you're under the cosh, right, and the opposition are turning the screw, right, and it's like I used to coach teams, and I used to call the sessions sustained pressure, right, and it's about knowing when you can't go in down one side, and you maybe admit defeat and you turn out and you try and go down the other side, or while it's on its way, you maybe look for a ball round the corner in that central third, that middle third, right. Um, and then I used to remind them on a match day, you know, let's think about if we get the ball in good areas, let's be patient and think about a bit of sustained pressure. And then even if the ball changes hands, like they call it this bullshit transition, which was a brilliant tweet the other day. Since when did that all come about? And the guy put the tweet, I said, here. He started, when did all this come out? 6, 8s, 10s, transition, turnovers. What's that about? I used to say my teams, even if the ball does change hands, right, we're going to try and win it back as quickly as we can. We're geared up for that with regards to our defensive strategy. We've got centre halves that can come and head the ball, right, and then let's make sure we get it down and play, and we keep the opposition under sustained pressure. Even at non-league level, I did it, and we keep turning the screw, right. Well, that's what Newcastle did. Now, conversely, if you're a West Ham player, what you got to do, you've got to put your foot through a one-touch clearance, and you've got to get your team, the player at the top, right? He's got to hunt the ball down and chase the lost calls, and maybe keep the defender's head down so it don't get rebounded on you. And what you've got to do, you've got to make sure that you get your team 15 yards, 10, 15, 20 yards further up the field, and try and just have a little bit of a respite, a bit of a break from that sustain. And West Ham didn't do it. They didn't do it. They was under the cosh, and Newcastle turned the screw, and you just knew the goal was coming, right? And then that's when when they panned on the thing, when there was the ball was ricocheting like it was going pinball style in the box, and then when the goal went in, you see Moyes go, "Oh, for sake," you know what I mean? When the camera went on him. Yeah, but last night they bounced back, and that's a good point. I think that's a good, even though it's at the London Stadium. I mean, I'm out of the game. You know that I'm out of the game. I can't drive. I'm banned until I got a hearing next week, right? So I can't get about. So I'm when I'm out, I talk to all the West Ham cabbies and that. And even though it was at London Stadium, I think that's a well-earned point, especially after Spurs. I think did they take the lead? Spurs? I'm not sure. Did they take the lead?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I'll double check
yeah.
that in a
So
sec.
that's good character to come back. But I'd like to see him drilled and just maybe keep the compactness. You've got the physicality of Antonio. You've got the trickery and the pace and the work rate and the appetite for goals and creating goals in Jarrod Bowen. You've got Ward Prowse, who's a superb passer ball. You've got what's his name, the guy in the middle of the park, Scamacha or such, whatever his name. I forgot the South American anyway.
The one who was giving Bellingham a kick in last week.
Yeah, the Brazilian. Yeah.
Paqueta.
I was close then.
Yeah, Spurs. To answer your question, Spurs took the lead very early. West Ham equalised pretty early as well, but Scamacha, I think he used to play for Villa back in
I don't even know where they come from. Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, let's not go all Bobby
I know
Robson.
what I'm looking at, but listen, I don't get paid for it. I don't get paid for it, and we're not thinking we ain't got a team of researchers around us. And I'm not that au fait with the personnel in each club. I only know what I'm looking at with regards to what they can do and what they can't do, and how it should be, how it should change. Yeah.
No. Well, we've got just that with a few. We're just under 10 minutes left, so we'll move on a little bit. But there is a match of the day tonight, so we might be able to see.
They'll put last night's games in. Yeah, good point for Everton. Very good point for Everton. Great win for Forest.
Yeah, they put a bit of daylight with that win.
Yeah, Wolves. What was that? Wolves. What was that? Burnley Wolves.
It was Burnley, Wolves. Yeah, that was
Yeah, so
one
that's
apiece.
another game. They've eaten into another game. They've eaten into
Yeah,
another game, and it makes the likelihood of survival. Um, the chances are very slim. Although
yeah.
I
It's
had
a
them down, I had them down in October.
yeah, and obviously a few weeks ago we confirmed those thoughts. Sheffield United and Burnley before the midweek games. It looked like, and to be fair, it's still a little bit. There's a faint glimmer of hope, but I think Burnley will see last night as 2 points dropped. I don't know. I think they had a goal disallowed late on. I've not seen it until
Yeah,
match of the day tonight, so I don't know if it was a get the lines out dodgy one or it was a yards offside. We'll see, but yeah, still a little bit of fight in there, but it still don't look great for certainly
it's
the
always
bottom tier.
intrigued me. It's always intrigued me how they start teams over the decades have started grinding out results when it comes to the business end of the season. So there's
Mm.
something like I don't know what is it, 8 games left,
Yeah,
something
about
something like eight
8 or
games
9.
left, 8 9 games left, 6 weeks left of the season, if
Mm.
that. And all of a sudden now everything becomes a matter of urgency. And I always said right from the off, right from the off. You know what I mean? You've got to be switched on and focused right from the off. And I just think that's just too late. They've eaten into another game. It's another game off of the fixture list. They've run out of time.
Yeah,
But the others around them, like I say, I thought good point for Everton, good 3 points Forest. I think Tottenham at the top end is probably 2 points drop. With all due respect to my West Ham mates, yeah, yeah, Fulham.
yeah. Fulham, they're not good. They're not great away, are they? They seem to be. They're very
Nah,
home and away side, but I mean they're comfy mid-table. Fulham,
yeah. Oh yeah,
I
no.
think.
And
But
what he's done is nothing short of superb. It's just been a fantastic. The manager's been fantastic there. Do you know what I mean? But they're pretty. It's a benign, very benign. Benign. It's a benign football club, isn't it? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's good.
I mean, you look at the
Good,
big. I think
good
the
work.
performance of the week for me was Arsenal. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
You've
done.
stolen my
Changing.
thunder.
Yeah, well, change. Rob, changing the game plan, to suit. And not only that, they played well. They were very compact. They played well through the three thirds, but when they lost it, they stayed as a group. They stayed
Mm.
compact. They went hunting as a pack. They played further up the field. They did exactly what I said in previous podcasts. Right, another self-congratulatory pat on the back. But I have said there's only really um, in terms of numbers and in terms of where you want to place your players and in terms of when you switch on, that's up to each individual coach and manager. But I've always maintained the only way that you can try and play against City is to get as far up the field as possible. And I thought that was a great battle. And it was nice. They showed good respect to each other after the game. Haaland and what's his name? The Arsenal centre back.
Saliba, the French lad,
Yeah. Yeah,
or was
they
it
had a bit.
Gabriel? The other one. It was it
Gabriel,
Gabriel.
Gabriel. It was they had a bit of a ding dong, and there was a bit of verbal and a bit of pushy, like little argy bargy, and I thought that
Mm.
was a fantastic battle. What intrigued me was a couple of things. One was the battle in midfield. I thought Arsenal acquitted themselves really well, and I thought they matched City at their own game in terms of which you might have nicked a few ideas working up there with him. They got players around the ball. You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's not a pattern, but it's something that I noticed that like when and it ties in with what the advice Bielsa gave Guardiola, or when Guardiola went to him for counselling and whatever, and to talk about the game. Um, I said they always seem to have five around the ball. If you include the man on the ball, right, five around the ball. So 1 and 4, or sometimes 1 and 5. And I thought Arsenal did that very well and matched them for that. And they even had a couple of opportunities of their own. But it was, let's say, a high octane 0-0.
Yeah. Well, to nick
Yeah.
your phrase, you were talking about grinding out results for certain sides towards the end of the season. Arsenal, with a little bit more panache than just a dull 0-0. I thought they came for a draw, but they came for a draw in the right way, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm
A
putting my
front foot draw.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they got what they got what they came for, and it's a good result. But um,
We're going to get after them. And if we nick a 1-0, so be it. But
mm,
the worst case scenario is we keep a clean sheet, we come away with something. I played in a couple of teams that were coached like that.
Right. Unfortunately, time's shot by again. We're just under 2 minutes to go. So the City Arsenal result, I think, is probably the best result. The best team it was a result for was Liverpool. I think, wasn't it, with their win? They've got a
Yeah,
little
I agree.
slight bit of daylight at the top now.
Yeah,
In their hands.
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm a bit more nervous than I was at the start when but I did say that I thought the main challenge for the title would be from Liverpool. I
Yeah.
fancy Liverpool to take it. I said that back when we started doing it in August, September.
Mm-hmm.
That was my prediction, or maybe October, when I said, let's get a few games out of the way so I can see it form and take shape and who's got what. Um, you know, I'll tell you who it ties in with. Liverpool. It ties in with West Ham, right? This is what I mean by the West Ham. I'm glad you brought Liverpool up, right?
You've got to
Because
be quick, John.
if you're gonna play like West Ham, right, and you're gonna defend as a block fairly deep, right, but stay compact, and you want to hit teams on the break. The beauty of Liverpool is they can hit you on either wing or up the middle, right?
Mm.
Whereas West Ham, they can only really hit anyone, maybe wide if it's Antonio, maybe up the middle if it's Antonio, most certainly on the right with Jared Bowen. So you've got to have like it's three options. You understand? You've got three ways of getting out, and that's and Liverpool. I just think if they win it, it'll be well deserved.
Absolutely. Any team that wins, it's well deserved. Right, we are pretty much out of time. So I'm going to say thank you again to everyone for watching. Please continue to do so. Like, share, subscribe, contact John on Twitter. Contact me on Twitter if you like. But keep following. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Good night. Cheers,
All right,
Rob.
all.
Thanks for your
See you
time,
next
mate.
week, hopefully.
Yeah. I'll see you after the next lot of games.
Cheers.
Ciao, mate.